The morning began like any other day on Earth. Children walked to school, workers hurried through busy streets, and people checked their phones for news and weather. But then, something strange appeared in the sky. At first, it looked like falling stars, bright trails of fire cutting across the clouds. People pointed, shouted, and took pictures. Some laughed, thinking it was just a meteor shower. But deep inside, something felt wrong. The lights were too many, too controlled, moving in perfect lines. They were not falling randomly. They were coming with purpose. In the control rooms of Earth space agencies, alarms screamed. Radars lit up with hundreds of unknown objects entering orbit. Scientists shouted, military leaders rushed to phones, and governments tried to stay calm. But everyone could see the truth. This was not nature. This was an invasion. The sky, once beautiful, now burned with fire and shadows. The world held its breath. On the ground, fear spread quickly. Crowds filled the streets, pointing to the strange shapes above. Some people prayed, others screamed, and some simply froze, unable to believe their eyes. In New York, giant shadows moved across the sun. In Tokyo, windows shook from the thunder of engines above. Across Africa, deserts lit up with strange glowing clouds. The ships were massive, black, metallic, and alien in design. They hovered like monsters waiting to strike. For the first time in history, humanity knew it was not alone. But this knowledge did not bring joy or wonder, it brought terror. The invaders did not send greetings. They did not offer peace. Instead, their message was simple and cold: surrender or be destroyed. The signal echoed across every screen, every radio, every device. A strange mechanical voice repeated the same words in every human language: Earth, submit, or burn. Panic swept through nations. Some leaders begged for negotiation, others shouted for resistance. But no one could deny the truth. The invaders were powerful, far beyond anything humanity had faced before. Their ships blotted out the sky. Their weapons glowed with energy that could shatter mountains. To many, Earth's end seemed certain. Mothers held their children close. Fathers gripped old rifles, and soldiers stood ready, knowing they might not live through the day. But humanity is strange. Where other species might collapse in fear, humans grew silent. There were no grand speeches, no answers to the alien demands. Governments went dark, communication lines cut. To the invaders, it looked like confusion, like weakness. They believed humans were panicking, leaderless, broken. But they were wrong. The silence was not weakness, it was preparation. High in hidden mountains, old bunkers came alive. In deep oceans, steel doors opened, releasing shadows that had waited for decades. Underground labs lit up with red lights as scientists whispered codes that had been forgotten by most of the world. Humanity had always feared this day, and in secret it had prepared. No one outside those circles knew what was coming, not even the soldiers now waiting for orders. But something was stirring, something older than the invasion itself. The aliens did not care. They saw Earth as weak, divided, easy prey. To them, humans were nothing more than a primitive race, still fighting wars with bullets and rockets. They hovered above cities, sending down beams of light to scan the ground. They laughed in their strange voices as they saw people running. They believed the war was already won before it had even begun. They had no idea what was hiding in Earth's silence. In one small town, a boy looked up at the burning sky and asked his grandfather if the world was ending. The old man did not answer. He only stared at the ships above, eyes filled with memories he had never spoken about. Long ago, he had worked on a secret project, one hidden beneath layers of lies and silence. He had sworn never to tell anyone, but now, as the sky burned and humanity faced extinction, he knew the time had come. He whispered a single word under his breath, a name that no one had spoken in years, and somewhere deep underground a machine heard it. The day stretched on and Earth waited. No one knew when the first strike would fall. People stayed in their homes, others filled churches, and some armed themselves with whatever weapons they could find. Fear was everywhere, but under that fear there was also fire. Humanity was afraid, but it was not broken. Not yet. The invaders did not understand this. They thought fear was defeat. They thought silence meant surrender. But humans were not, like the species they had conquered before. The sun set, painting the sky red, and the alien ships glowed brighter in the dark. They spread across every continent, every ocean, waiting for the final command. Then, as the stars filled the sky, the first beam of alien fire cut through the night. A city lit up, buildings turned to ash, and screams echoed across the world. The invasion had begun. The day the sky burned was here. But in that moment of terror, something else awakened. A signal, hidden for generations, flashed across secret networks. Bases that had slept for decades roared to life. Engines that no human had seen before shook the earth. Humanity was not surrendering. Humanity was waiting. And as the first alien strike hit the planet, the answer was already rising from the shadows. After the first strikes, the earth shook with fear. Cities burned, sirens wailed, and millions cried out. The alien fleet hovered above like vultures circling prey. They had destroyed entire civilizations across the galaxy, and to them, Earth was just another name on their long list of conquered worlds. But this time, something was different. After the first firestorm, there was silence. The invaders expected panic, endless transmissions, desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, Earth grew quiet. Too quiet. Alien commanders watched from their dark bridges, their strange eyes glowing as they listened. They waited for humanity to beg, but no message came. They expected surrender, but no voice answered. At first, they laughed. The primitives are too stunned, they said. They cannot even respond. But as the hours passed, that laughter began to fade. Silence is dangerous. Silence hides secrets. Across Earth, governments had gone dark. No broadcasts, no public orders. Instead, leaders vanished into hidden bunkers, their signals vanishing into coded channels only a handful could hear. The alien fleet intercepted fragments, numbers, strange pulses of data, bursts of static that made no sense. It was not the language of surrender. It was the language of preparation. In the mountains of South America, doors carved into stone opened for the first time in 50 years. Soldiers walked into caverns filled with machines that looked older than they were, dust rising as long dead. Engines roared back to life. In Siberia, frozen bunkers melted from within, revealing black steel missiles far larger than anything the public had ever seen. Deep beneath the oceans, vast shapes stirred, machines that looked like whales made, of iron, their eyes glowing blue as they woke. Humanity's silence was not weakness. It was the drumbeat of war. Still, ordinary people did not know. In the ruins of New York, survivors searched for their loved ones. In Paris, churches filled with whispers of prayer. In Beijing, families, huddled in basements listening to the sound of ships moving above like thunder. To them it seemed like the end. And yet, whispers spread, rumors. A soldier, seen carrying strange weapons. A pilot claiming to have seen an aircraft faster than anything on Earth. A scientist disappearing into a sealed facility. Something was moving in the shadows, and people began to feel a strange hope they could not explain. The aliens grew restless. They fired warning shots across oceans, sinking ships and setting forests ablaze. They hovered over capitals, waiting for Earth to speak. But still no answer came. One alien commander demanded, "Why do they not kneel? Why do they not beg?" Another replied coldly, "Perhaps they prepare something." The first scoffed, "These bipeds, they are too primitive. Let them gather their toys. We will crush them." But beneath their arrogance, unease began to grow. They had conquered countless worlds, yet none had stayed silent like this. On a small island in the Pacific, fishermen watched as the sea began to boil. At first they thought it was volcanic, but then the water split open, and something vast rose into the night. It was not alien. It was human. A warship, black as obsidian, larger than anything humanity had ever admitted to building. Its hull was covered in strange symbols, its weapons glowing faintly as though it was alive. The fishermen fled in terror, but their fear was mixed with awe. They whispered to one another, "Maybe Earth is not as weak as they think." Meanwhile, in an underground lab somewhere in Europe, old men and women sat around a glowing screen. They were scientists, long retired, brought back in secret. One of them entered a code she had memorized 40 years ago. Lights flared, and a machine in the corner began to hum. The scientists looked at each other. They had worked in silence, for decades, building something no one else believed was possible. Now, as the aliens waited above, that machine came alive. "It is time," one of them whispered. In space, the alien fleet continued to spread, casting shadows across continents. Their arrogance blinded them. They had not yet realized that humanity's silence was a weapon. Humans were not begging, because they did not intend to beg. They were waiting for the right moment. They were gathering storms behind closed doors. And the invaders, for all their power, did not understand that silence before a storm is the loudest warning of all. Night turned to morning again, and the world still burned. Smoke rose from cities, but under that smoke, the human spirit burned hotter. Soldiers trained in hidden bases, pilots climbed into cockpits they had never seen before, and scientists unlocked codes sealed for generations. Families whispered stories of survival, remembering how their ancestors had endured wars, plagues, and disasters. Humanity had always been a species that fought with its back to the wall. And now, with the sky filled with enemies, Earth prepared to strike back in a way that would shock the galaxy. The aliens thought silence meant surrender, but in reality, silence was the voice of a predator waiting to show its teeth. And when those teeth finally bit, the invaders would understand what every human already knew. Earth was no prey. Earth was a battlefield, and humanity would never kneel. The aliens had grown impatient. Days of silence had passed, and still humanity gave no answer. Their fleet darkened the skies above every continent, their massive ships blotting out the stars. On their command decks, the alien warlords sneered. To them, Earth was stubborn prey refusing to bow. They decided patience was no longer needed. With a single order, the first true wave of destruction began. Over Asia, a warship tilted its massive cannon toward the ground. A beam of white fire shot downward, carving a scar across mountains and valleys. Entire villages vanished in an instant. Over Europe, another ship released storms of plasma that melted steel and stone like wax. America watched in horror as ships hovered over its cities, their shadows swallowing skyscrapers whole. The aliens wanted to break humanity's spirit. They wanted to show that resistance was useless. They thought this would end the silence, but they did not understand humans. Silence was not fear. Silence was fury, waiting for the right time to strike. In an underground bunker beneath the Rockies, the silence finally broke. A single command echoed across hidden networks, traveling faster than the speed of sound. One word, one order. And then, Earth answered. The mountains trembled as steel doors opened, revealing missile silos that no one had ever seen before. But these were not ordinary missiles. They shimmered with strange light, technology that even most humans did not know existed. Engines roared, and within moments the black sky above the mountains was filled with streaks of fire, not from invaders, but from Earth itself. The first alien ship above the Rockies barely had time to react. It fired its cannons downward, but the missiles were too fast, too unpredictable. They twisted and curved mid-air as if alive. They struck the ship in 3 places at once. The invaders had shields powerful enough to withstand nuclear blasts, but these were not nuclear weapons. The shields flickered, cracked, and then shattered, like glass. The ship screamed in metal agony as fire tore through its core. A moment later, it fell from the sky, crashing into the mountains with a roar that shook the earth. Humanity had drawn first blood. The news spread like wildfire. Across radios, televisions, and the internet, survivors cheered. For the first time since the sky had burned, hope returned. The invaders could be hurt. They could bleed. Humanity was not powerless. In the ruins of New York, survivors shouted into the night as they watched the burning wreck of a ship crash into the Atlantic. In the deserts of Africa, children pointed to the sky, eyes wide with awe as alien flames lit the horizon. Humanity's silence had ended with a scream of defiance. But this was only the beginning. Across the globe, more hidden weapons awoke. In the Pacific, the sea split apart as submarines larger than cities rose from the deep. Their decks opened, and swarms of drones flew out like angry hornets, glowing red against the sky. In Siberia, vast railguns hidden under ice launched slugs of metal at speeds that broke the sound barrier 10 times over. Each strike ripped through alien armor as if it were paper. Over the deserts of the Middle East, black aircraft rose, sleek and sharp, their engines silent as shadows. They were ghosts, invisible to alien scanners, hunting in the night. The aliens staggered. They had believed Earth was defenseless, but suddenly their fleets were under attack from every side. Their shields cracked, their formations broke. For the first time in centuries, they felt fear. Their commanders shouted orders, demanding retaliation. And retaliation came swiftly. Alien cannons lit up the skies, cutting down human aircraft, striking at missile silos, burning entire forests to ash. Earth shook under their fury. The battle had begun, and it was brutal. In one hidden base, a young pilot climbed into his craft, his hands shaking. He had trained for years, but never thought this day would come. As his ship roared upward, he saw the alien fleet above, glowing like angry gods. He thought of his family hiding in a basement far away, and he tightened his grip. For them, he whispered. Then he joined the swarm of human fighters, their trails of fire cutting through the night. Against all odds, they fought back. And with every alien ship that fell, humanity's courage grew stronger. But victory was not yet certain. The aliens still had numbers, still had power far greater than Earth had ever faced. In orbit, their massive motherships hung like dark suns, each one capable of wiping out a continent. The humans had struck hard, but the war was only beginning. Flames lit the skies above every land, screams echoed through every city, and yet, something had changed. Humanity had shown its teeth. The predators from the stars had expected prey. Instead, they had found warriors. As dawn rose over the battlefield, the smoke cleared just enough for one truth to be seen across the world. Earth had survived the first strike. And in the shadows of ruined cities, deep oceans, and secret mountains, more weapons waited, more soldiers prepared, more machines stirred awake. The silence was gone. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy was about to listen. The world was burning, but it was no longer helpless. Alien warships still filled the skies, their weapons tearing into cities, oceans, and deserts. But for the first time, the galaxy's conquerors were on the defensive. Earth had bared its hidden claws, and now the fight turned savage. Humanity was not just resisting, humanity was erasing. The second alien fleet arrived from orbit, furious at the losses of the first wave. They descended like wolves, firing beams of light that cut across entire continents. In orbit, massive carriers opened their hangars, unleashing swarms of drones the size of small buildings. They screeched as they rained down on Earth, programmed to kill everything that moved. But waiting for them in the shadows were Earth's own creations, machines no alien intelligence had expected to face. Out of the oceans rose warships armed with railguns that could pierce planets. Out of hidden hangars came squadrons of human drones guided by artificial minds built for war. They did not fear, they did not hesitate, they only killed. The two swarms clashed in the skies, a storm of fire and steel so vast that the night itself seemed to vanish. In Africa's deserts, alien walkers landed, towering machines with legs like mountains. They marched across the sand, crushing everything in their path. But tribes who had survived centuries of hardship knew their land better than any invader. Hidden beneath dunes, explosive traps buried decades earlier came to life. Entire alien walkers stumbled, collapsing in thunderous roars, and from cliffs, human fighters launched missiles that struck the invaders' exposed joints, toppling them like giants on broken knees. Humanity fought with everything: tricks, traps, and pure fury. Above Europe, the sky was torn open by a weapon the invaders could not comprehend. From beneath the Swiss Alps, a beam of energy ripped upward, invisible to the human eye but deadly to alien shields. It cut through a mothership as if it were glass, slicing it in two. The explosion rained metal across the continent, killing thousands of the invaders in a single instant. Humanity's silence had hidden many things. This was one of them. A weapon built not for show, but for the end of worlds. The aliens tried to adapt. They launched counterstrikes targeting the hidden bunkers, but humanity refused to fight like prey. Guerrilla tactics spread across the planet. Soldiers ambushed alien patrols in forests, blowing them apart before vanishing back into the trees. Civilians set traps in city ruins, luring drones into buildings, rigged to collapse. Even children carried messages for resistance fighters slipping past alien eyes. Every street became a battlefield, every home a fortress. Humanity was fighting as one mind, one fury. And the invaders, for all their technology, could not match that spirit. In the Pacific, the greatest battle of the war raged. Alien motherships, massive as mountains, circled above the water. They launched weapon after weapon, shaking the ocean into storms. But from below, the sea answered. Submarines the size of islands rose, their decks splitting open to unleash weapons no alien scanner had ever detected. One by one, glowing lances shot upward, spears of energy forged in secret. They pierced the alien motherships, ripping through their cores. Fire erupted across the heavens as colossal ships fell into the ocean, creating waves that swallowed entire islands. The ocean turned red with fire and blood, but when the smoke cleared, it was Earth's flag that still stood above the waves. And yet humanity was not satisfied with defense. It was not enough to survive. They had suffered too much. Cities burned, families killed, lives destroyed. Survival was no longer the goal. Erasure was. Across hidden command centers, a single command spread. Do not just repel them, remove them. The order was clear. No ship must escape. No invader must live. Their memory itself would be wiped clean. So the hunters became the hunted. Human warships chased the invaders across the skies, swarming them with relentless fire. Pilots risked their lives in suicide runs, ramming enemy craft to drag them down. Drones tore through enemy formations like knives through paper. On the ground, soldiers marched into alien camps, burning their technology, destroying their archives, leaving nothing but ash. Wherever an invader stepped, humanity struck back with double the fury. Every death of a human was answered by the extinction of an entire alien unit. Piece by piece, the fleet was torn apart. One alien commander, broken and desperate, sent a final transmission back to his empire. His words were trembling, filled with terror. Do not come to this planet. Do not touch these creatures. They are not prey. They are erasers. His message ended as his ship exploded in a burst of fire, cut down before he could finish. His warning would never reach his people. Humanity would make sure of that. As night fell, the burning wreckage of alien ships lit the skies above every continent. The invaders had come with arrogance, certain of conquest. Now they were corpses drifting in Earth's orbit, ashes scattered across the seas, bones buried in deserts and ruins. Humanity was relentless. Humanity was merciless. Humanity was erasing every trace of the invasion, wiping the enemy from existence, as though they had never been. The galaxy had seen many wars, many victories, many defeats, but nothing like this. For the first time, an empire that conquered worlds without resistance had been not just stopped, but destroyed, silenced by a species it thought weak. And Earth was not finished yet. The last of the alien ships burned in the upper atmosphere, falling like dying stars. Their screams of metal echoed across the night, crashing into oceans and mountains, breaking into ash and smoke. Across the world, humans lifted their eyes to the sky, not in fear, but in awe. The invaders who had come as gods now fell like insects, Earth had survived. But survival was not enough. Humanity had made a choice. This invasion would not be remembered. It would be erased. In hidden command centers, leaders gathered in silence. No one cheered, no one celebrated. The cost had been too high. Cities destroyed, millions dead, memories burned into history like scars. Yet those scars would not remain. One by one, governments activated protocols so secret that even their own people did not know they existed. Data was locked away, records deleted, images purged. Every trace of the invasion was being cut from history, as though it had never happened. Across battlefields, human soldiers moved with grim purpose. They did not leave alien corpses for study or trophies. They burned them, dissolved them, erased them until only dust remained. Wreckage of ships was dismantled, melted, buried in the deepest pits of the earth. Alien technology, no matter how advanced, was destroyed rather than studied. Humanity was not interested in learning from its enemy. Humanity wanted them forgotten. The galaxy would never know this war had happened. The invaders had not just lost, they had been erased from existence itself. In the deserts of Africa, where alien walkers had once marched, only silence remained. Families returned to find nothing but blackened sand, the ruins already buried by shifting winds. In Asia, the mountains that had glowed with alien fire were now quiet, the wreckage buried under avalanches caused by human bombs. In the Pacific, the oceans swallowed entire motherships, dragging them down into trenches so deep no eyes would ever see them again. The earth itself became the gravekeeper, hiding every trace of the war in its depths. But even as the invaders were erased, a deeper silence grew across humanity. Survivors whispered about what they had seen, the ships, the fire, the endless battles. Yet when they turned to their screens, the official news told another story. Meteor showers, earthquakes, atmospheric events. The truth was vanishing before their very eyes. Governments spread one narrative. Nothing had happened. The skies had never burned. Humanity had never been invaded. And those who remembered? They were warned, silenced, or simply ignored. A great rewriting of history had begun. Some resisted. A young journalist in Europe tried to publish photos of a burning alien wreck in the Alps. Her files were erased within hours, her press agency shut down, her name forgotten. A soldier in America tried to tell his family about the battles he had fought in orbit. The next morning, his family swore he had never been in the army at all. Rumors spread that entire archives, entire families, were being rewritten. Memories, scrubbed as clean as the battlefields. Humanity was not just erasing the invaders. Humanity was erasing itself. Why? Some whispered it was fear. If the galaxy knew Earth had destroyed an invasion fleet, more enemies would come. Others said it was pride. Humans wanted to remain underestimated, hidden in plain sight until they chose to rise again. And some believed it was vengeance. The invaders had tried to wipe Earth from history. Now, Earth returned the favor, making them ghosts without names, shadows without memory. Whatever the reason, the truth was clear. The day of invasion would not be written in any book. It would only exist in whispers, fading over generations. But the galaxy would feel it. Far beyond Earth, empires waited for news from their fleet. None came. Systems went dark. The conquerors who had ruled for centuries had vanished without a trace. Their allies searched but found only silence. Their enemies grew suspicious, wondering who could erase such power. Some feared, some rejoiced, but none could answer the question. And Earth, silent as ever, gave no sign. To the galaxy, it was as if nothing had happened at all. Yet in their silence, humans carried a secret the stars could not imagine. In a small town, the boy who had once looked up at the burning sky asked his grandfather again if the world had ended that night. The old man simply smiled. "No," he whispered. "The world did not end. It began." But he said no more. For even in his heart, the truth was too dangerous to keep alive. The memory of the invasion belonged only to shadows now, and shadows. Do not speak. So the earth turned, scarred but unbroken, silent but watching. Humanity had erased its enemies from history, but in doing so it had transformed itself. It was no longer prey, no longer the quiet species hiding on a small blue planet. Now it was something else, something the galaxy could not see, could not measure, could not understand. The invaders had come to burn Earth from the stars. Instead, humanity had burned them from memory. They would never be named. They would never be remembered. They would never exist again. And in that silence, in that erasure, one truth remained. If the galaxy ever came to Earth again, they would not just face resistance. They would face extinction. Because humanity had already proven what it could do. It could erase.